everyone. I hope you are doing well. It's so hard to believe that we are already at week 6 of a semester. It seems like the semester goes by so fast in the summer and that we have more of a winter than we do a summer, unfortunately, in Minnesota. I'm moving to California next month. No, I'm just kidding you, but I'd love to. Okay, so in terms of this Foucault and Chomsky debate, the first thing that we need to look at is human nature. And one of the things that really struck me in this debate was in terms of Chomsky's viewpoint on human nature in terms of language and knowledge. One thing that really struck me is how Chomsky talks about the language of a child. He argues that the individual himself contributes a good deal of the specific content of knowledge that he derives from limited experience and makes that jump from the scattered data to organized knowledge. And that is one of the concepts of human nature. For example, let's take into consideration a child learning a language. He takes his data, maybe his parents speaking the language, his family speaking the language, and then he organizes that into his mind, and this creates a little bit of a scheme of the knowledge of another language. Also, to name another example, the same kind of applies to a child knowing about who they are as individuals and who they are as people in this world. And I think in some ways, we as people have a perceived notion of who we are as individuals. We kind of have that knowledge already installed in our brains. Even by the time that we're even born, we just kind of have that knowledge of who we are as individuals. From a communication perspective, we gain knowledge about how we communicate through our interactions with others. So, in other words, we learn how to communicate based on our interactions with others and also how we observe others communicating with other individuals. And we gain that knowledge for how to communicate with people. And I think that's one of the ways how we learn to communicate with others is by not only observing other people, but also by our own interactions with other individuals and by our own experiences as well. In comparison, one thing that really got me thinking was in terms of, remember the Popper and the Essels debate. Popper discusses the 3 worlds. One of the worlds being the physical objects and sensing them and our conscience. And this really kind of sounded similar to this debate because I could take for this example. When I was young, I had an elementary school teacher come and visit me, and she brought a clock along. And she said, I want you to look at this clock and observe it. And as I was observing, I just watched it. How did it move? How did it function? How did this object look? I would just analyze this clock and watch it move and see it, these little hands move, and just kind of observe the object and how it functioned and how it worked. I'm an overanalyzer, but I think really this brings up the point that we as humans are able to have some kind of knowledge of objects and of things around us. And I think that's what helps shape our knowledge in a way. Also, let's look at creativity, which is another point that Chomsky brings up. He argues that a child demonstrates creativity when he comes to grips with a new situation to describe and reacts to it properly. For example, let's take, for instance, a brother and a brother, and one of the brothers takes that other brother's toy, and the brother who's toy has been taken away, reacts by pushing his brother and pushing him down. It's obviously, we all know that that wasn't right to react that way, because you should react by, telling a trusted adult that your brother has taken something away from you. You don't use violence or push somebody. But it's how we as humans, when we're in a situation, that's how we initially react to something. When we get into a difficult situation, we just initially react to something. And I think what Chomsky is trying to argue is how when we're faced with a situation, our first gut is just to react the way that we think is acceptable at the time, even if it may or may not be acceptable. A child doesn't know any better, but they kind of think it's right, but It's the same with communication too, when we're communicating with our friends, our first gut is like, we're thinking in our minds, how do we interact? What do we want to say? And, when somebody says something to us, the first thing we do is just we react the way that we think is necessary to react. Also, now looking into kind of the justice side of things, Foucault makes more of the arguments in terms of justice in society. He argues that the concepts of human nature are of kindness and justice, and of human actualization, which all are concepts that have been created within our civilization. Our knowledge system and form of philosophy forms our class society. When I heard about this, when I was watching the debate, something really, really struck me. I'm wondering if Foucault is trying to show how, in a way, is power knowledge? Does knowledge help shape power? Is it what influences us to have power through our knowledge in society? Is that how we gain power in society, is through knowledge? That's what's something that got me really, really wondering about. And it also got me to wonder in terms of human nature and of justice. It makes me think that, in a way, human nature may imply that we as people may be being shaped by our experience. We as human beings are shaped by our experiences, not only in society, but also in our interactions with our friends, with our family members. And also in terms of justice and power, we as people may also, in terms of this justice and power, we may be influenced by the power of culture and the social institutions that surround us. I'm wondering if we as humans are being shaped by the power of society and also by the institutions that surround us. I'm not sure if that's a correct assumption. Please feel free to correct me, but let me know what your thoughts are, and let me know if you have any questions. I really look forward to seeing what you think. Talk to you soon.